Hello, this is Carol McIntyre, and I am the instructor of the online color course called Painting with Color Harmony. To learn more information about this course and other color tips that I may post, please visit www.celebratingcolor.com. Today I'm going to show you how to create your own 7-step value scale using oils. And that scale, when you are finished, will look something like this. And of course the first step in the scale, the white, is going to be difficult to see, but there it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm using a titanium white and an ivory black for my white and black. And this might be what your palette will look like after you've done your mixing of the 7 steps. It's a really good exercise in helping you to learn how to see the various steps in a value range. The easiest way to approach this is to first apply your white and your black. Now, I'm a lover of the palette knife. Obviously you can apply this with a brush, and your watercolorists are those who rely on the white of the substrate to provide the lightest value. Obviously you leave this part blank. And before I should continue, I forgot to mention that what I drew out here is a scale using a pencil on my canvas paper. It's 2 inches wide, and each step is an inch in depth. And so I just lightly drew that out with a pencil. So now I have my lightest and darkest value in this value scale. And I like to approach it this way, and which is to then mix the middle gray, or the mid gray that we sometimes call it. And because it's easier to do that than to say go from your black here and then do this step and this step, this step and on, or start with the white, add a little black and keep going. It's easier to start with your middle gray so that you can constantly sort of go back and forth with your eyes. There's sort of a shifting or that goes back and forth, and you can squint your eyes to find that middle value. Now, this does take practice. Let me move this over to make sure you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to add some white and some black, and as I move along I shift back and forth, and I'm going, no, that's not quite in the middle. You'll also notice that I am painting on a piece of glass that has been taped to a piece of kind of a middle gray mat board. I'm doing that so it's easier for you to see how this changes. And see, to me that looks like a really nice, if you were just to go and look at the white and then shift your eyes down to the black, this would be a really good middle gray right here. And obviously you can use a brush. You want to try, if you can, to keep your edges, these top and bottom, as clean as you can. Your water-based mediums, you're going to have to make sure that each of your step is dry before you put one right next to it. And I'll remind you of that again in just a second. There is no right or wrong as far as how many steps you have in a value scale. I prefer an odd number for precisely this reason, so you can find that middle, that nice mid-gray. And see how dark that seems to look right now? But again, your comparison is not between here and here. It's really, well, I guess in a way it is, because at this point this is your lightest value because it is white, but it's between here and here. So you want to see if you can find that middle step. And it may be a titch a little dark, but we'll correct that if we need to. And now from here on, doesn't matter which way you go, but you're going to want to find those as close as you can, equal steps between the dark and the middle gray, and then I'll do between the mid gray and the white. So I'm going to take some more of this black and just add a little bit of white at a time. It's kind of interesting how fast this might change. It's not quite, I don't think you can see it. There we go. It's not quite dark enough, light enough. It's still a little too dark. I'd still, even if you might apply with the brush, I encourage you to mix with the palette knife. Notice also whenever I go into either the black or the white, I always have a clean palette knife. Okay, this looks like a nice step 6. And before I apply it to my paper, I'm going to mix step 5. So how are these looking to you? You have your black, which is your step 7, 6, 5, and 4. I think I'm going to darken this a little bit more, and then in turn darken this a little bit more. Values are what bring the mood of your painting, and whether you want bright, cheery, dramatic, or do you want something that is very light and almost a soft, watery, poetic mood. So I want you to notice that there is definitely a change in the light and darkness of this gray. So there's our step 6 out of the 7-step scale, and then aha, problemo, true. Our middle gray is a little too dark. So I'm going to lighten that a little bit. I'm going to make a little white right into the value scale. Okay, so that we can actually see a definite step in the change in the light and darkness of that gray. Now for the lighter steps, it's often easy to make value step number 2 too dark, and it takes very little black to change that to the next step. And then after I do the step number 3, again when I do the step number 3, I'm going to look between these two to get that middle value or equal step between those two values. And then after I have finished this and let it dry, I am going to cut it with a X-Acto knife or a utility knife and glue it onto a real light piece of cardboard or perhaps a mat board. Okay, here, can you see that? Yeah, trying to get the middle between these two. So I did them differently, the dark values and the lights, and you can work this either way, whatever works best for you. The idea, again, is just for those eyes to really discriminate and see those light and dark changes. And ideally, you want these steps to be equal. So we use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And sometimes you will notice that some value scales start with 0 and go to 6, or go to 0 goes to 9, and then you will also see value scales that are flip of that. They're called the white, the 10 or the 7 in this case, and flip it. And it doesn't really matter. I noticed that I think this step, remember I say it's so easy to make that second step too dark. And I'll lighten it a little bit with a little bit of a little more white. After I glue this onto a piece of light cardboard or mat board and it's dry, then I'm going to cut a hole using a paper punch, and I'll show you how to use that for evaluating your values. Thank you, and that is the end of this lesson, which is showing you the 7-step value scale.